Hey everybody, this is Harry coming to you from the beautiful Live Oak Cemetery, maybe over this way, in Swanee County, Florida. And I wanted to discuss something. It was been on my mind for the last 2 days or so, and I guess I put it to video for posterity's sake. Maybe my kids will find these videos and watch it later down the road. Who knows? Maybe wind up in the National Archives. And a couple of weeks ago, we had a community chat where we talked about our favorite cinema experiences that we had, and I had left one out. And maybe it was on purpose too, because it is now a little bit over 40 years. 42 years ago that Star Wars was released, and and now the final chapter of the Skywalker saga is coming in about 2 weeks, and it's like, I'm glad. Hopefully, next 2 weeks I'm still around, but to see it finally come to an end, see it all the way through. And most of the cast members are still alive except for Peter Mayhew, who played Chewbacca, Kenny Baker played R2-D2, and Carrie Fisher, of course, played Princess Leia. They have passed on, and but they're still with us always. It's like family, don't you think? They're like family. You never forget them, whether they're here or gone. But so I wanted to just talk about was my first experience with Star Wars, and it was back in when I was about 10. Excuse me, 10 years old, in December of 1977. At that time, we were living in Bayshore, New York, Long Island. I was living with my parents, of course, and then during the summertime, my brother, I have an older brother who's gone. He lived in Brooklyn and Bay Ridge. And sometimes I would spend the summers with him, like maybe a couple of weeks or so, maybe a month, and trying to get out of my parents' hair. And he worked at Coney Island. He worked at one of the amusement parks there in Coney Island. At that time, he was working at it was an antique car ride. He kind of did the mechanics for that, ran the car rides and stuff like that. And it was that summer on the radio. He always had the radio playing out, and I would hear on the radio these ads for Star Wars, a George Lucas film, which I didn't know who George Lucas was. 10 years old. He did what? 2 movies prior to that. One that I never heard of, and the other one was American Graffiti. Excuse me. And but anyways, I would hear these radio ads, and I was getting excited. I was like, oh man, Star Wars, and they had like the little sound effects of like R2-D2 and the lasers and C-3PO. So I was getting excited, but I had not seen the TV trailer for it, TV spot, what they call now TV spot, or a trailer for it. This was way pre-internet, and we had like 3 channels. And I think I saw it at his neighbor's house because they didn't have. I actually don't think cable was in its infancy then, but like HBO and stuff. But I think I was at a neighbor's house being babysat where I saw the first trailer for, or TV spot for Star Wars. C-3PO caught my eye. He was the one that I wanted to. That's what made me want to see the movie, because I was like, wow, that's something different, and R2D2, just like caught my interest right away. So my brother said, because he was famous for taking me to movies, and at times, one time, which I didn't mention before, he took me to a triple feature. He sold plasma, and to take me into the movies, and we would go to Manhattan, take the subway, go to Manhattan, and catch a movie there. And he took me to see a triple feature. And the triple feature was a kung fu movie when we got there. I don't even know the name of it, but I remember the other movie was a movie called Bugs, where these little bugs get on people's hair, their heads, and then they catch them on fire, and then they wind up dying. Freaked me out, just like Jaws did. And then Superfly. I think it was one of the Superfly movies. It was the first time I seen a couple naked on a movie screen, and it was in a glass bathtub. So that was pretty interesting. My mother wasn't impressed either with that. So he asked me, what do you want to see? You want to go to the movies? He said, what do you want to see? And I said, I want to see Star Wars. He said, I don't want to see Star Wars. That's a kid's movie. That's what he told me. He said, there's a new James Bond movie out. The Spy Who Loved Me was the movie that was out at the same time as Star Wars. But I was insistent that I would see Star Wars. So I remember we got into, he said, okay, well, we'll go see Star Wars, and I can see James Bond whenever. And sorry about this. So I said, well, because James Bond was kind of boring to me. I mean, I'm a 10-year-old kid. Who wants to see James Bond at that age? So Star Wars is more exciting. Excuse me. And so we wound up taking the subway over to Manhattan again. And we went to this, I can't remember the name of the movie theater. I wish I knew. But it was fancy on the inside. The outside looked like a regular building, and it just had a what do you call it? Marquee to tell you what movies were playing. But we went inside. It was, I remember it being golden. I remember there was like a lot of gold trim. It was very bright. And there was a stand in the middle. You know how you used to, when you go to the movie theater, I don't know if they do it now, because my movie theater don't do it anymore. Unless there's like the opening night, there's always a person there taking your ticket and tearing it in half. And we were there, and they had little program books there. And I wish I still had it, but I got one of those program books for Star Wars. It had a lot of pictures, stills from the film in it, and I was like, oh my God, this is great. I'm like flipping through it, waiting for the movie to come on, and then it came on, and we went inside, and it came on the big screen, and I was just totally enthralled. I mean, it's amazing. Excuse me. Because I'd never seen anything like that before. I mean, I've seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, but that was long, drawn out, no action really. Star Wars had action, and it was like watching a war movie. Basically, it was what it was. I remember the scroll going up, and and how excited I was. And then I seen C-3PO. You know, the first scenes were C-3PO and R2-D2 going across while everybody's getting shot. The stormtroopers are shooting the rebels, and then seeing Darth Vader for the first time gave me chills. And I thank my brother for taking me to the movies to see Star Wars, because it's been a 42-year journey. I can't believe it's been 42 years that when I first saw it. Now I'm 53 years old, and I was 10, and now they're wrapping it up. And like, what the... You know, I lived through The Empire Strikes Back and The Return of the Jedi, which are both... Empire Strikes Back is probably everybody's favorite. The Star Wars, the original Star Wars... What with the hell with The New Hope and Episode 4? It was just Star Wars when I was a kid, and but now they gave it a title, The New Hope, and then they tweaked it, and special editions. So, but anyways, it was just a love affair. Now, I didn't get into the books. I tried getting into reading the books, the Star Wars, and all that, but I couldn't get into that, and I can't get into all the deep backstory or canon of it, of all these things, graphic novels and stuff. I used to collect the cards, and I collected the comic books for a little bit. Star Wars. I think it was Star Wars comic, but it might have been Battlestar Galactica. I did have Battlestar Galactica. Because that's what got me into that show, was Star Wars. Thanks to that, and then Buck Rogers and all that. But growing up, and then, you know, The Empire Strikes Back, which I thought I seen in the movie theater, but I didn't. I didn't get to see it until it came on TV or cable, and Return of the Jedi as well. And then I remember going and seeing The Phantom Menace in 1999 when it came out. All excited because it was the first Star Wars movie since '83, and this was the prequels. This showed you how Darth Vader became Darth Vader, or how Anakin Skywalker became Darth Vader. And I, as a motherfucker, and Ian will tell you, I fell asleep in the middle of that movie. Fell asleep. And I could not... I watched The Phantom Menace, and it's probably my favorite of the three prequels. But I'm not big on any of them. Attack of the Clones was like long, drawn out, and boring. And I know people who actually absolutely love that movie. Or Revenge of the Sith, they actually loved that movie, which I think was probably was better than Attack of the Clones. But I liked The Phantom Menace. Liam Neeson was in it. Didn't care for Jar Jar. Nobody does. And then these last ones with The Force Awakens and the Last Jedi had a look, and then the new one coming out. And I seen The Force Awakens in the theater New Year's Eve, and I saw The Last Jedi New Year's Eve when it came out. Saw Rogue One when that came out first day. And I actually love The Force Awakens. I mean, some people say, that's nostalgic shit. But that shit, I was there at the first Star Wars. And seeing Han Solo, Chewbacca, 3PO, R2, all these people, Carrie Fisher, Princess Leia, all back together in the film again was magical. The Millennium Falcon. That's what I lived to see. The Last Jedi, you know, could have been better. Even the final battle scene, I thought could have been better. So I'm looking forward to this one. This one looks really great. I'm glad J.J. Abrams is directing it, and it looks like will be a good closure to the Skywalker saga here at after 42 years. Anyways, kind of a ramble on, just talking about kind of my memories when I first seen Star Wars. My brother wasn't too impressed with it actually when he first watched it. I guess he wasn't a big sci-fi film, but he gradually grew to it. He's a lot older than me. He's 16 years older than I am, so he was, a lot older, and that's why he thought it was kind of like a kid's movie. Thankfully, I still have the original release Star Wars. Not on VHS, I have them on DVD. They came with a 2-pack back when the prequels came out. And when they reissued the special editions on DVD back then, it had the special edition, and then it had the original theatrical cut, which wasn't remastered at all, you could tell, but they were still there. So when I go back to watch the original Star Wars or Empire Strikes Back, though I have watched the special editions, I watched the original theatrical release mainly. I go back and watch the original release of it. And I'm thankful to have those. Because when I watched it, and I was talking to my grandson, me and him were watching, I said, this is how I saw Star Wars in 1977. Anyways, if you have memories of Star Wars, the first time you've seen Star Wars, whatever, or any of the Star Wars movie, wherever you started from, post a video, make a comment. I'd be appreciative. It'd be good to see what other people history with Star Wars. Thank you so much for being patient. This is almost 18 minutes long, and comments are welcome, as Mike would say.